Now to politics. Nigeria's last 2023 general election, which produced President Bola Tinubu, reflects the will of the electorate, despite widespread irregularities. That was the message of the 2023 country reports on human rights practices by the United States. The report, published by the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, U.S. Department of State, stresses human rights practices and violations in different countries, including Nigeria. And that report mentioned, quote, national elections were widely reported to have reflected the will of voters, despite technical and logistical difficulties and some irregularities, end quote. According to the report, many independent observers assessed the results of the presidential, legislative, and state-level elections during the year reflected the will of voters, despite reports of voter suppression and vote buying, campaigning at polling stations, lack of ballot secrecy, violence, and intimidation. Speaking about the corruption in government, the report advised the current administration to address issues of corruption in governance. However, reactions have continued to trail this development as the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party expressed shock over the U.S. report, despite irregularities. Joining us on the program is the chieftain of the All Progressives Congress in the UK, Tunde Doherty. Thank you for joining us on the program. Well, I'm sure you have seen this report. So let's just look at, some of the points raised there. And one of them is that the national elections were widely reported to have reflected the will of voters, despite technical and logistical difficulties and some irregularities. What is your take, on that issue of logistics during the general election?
Thank you very much for having me once again. That report was a very detailed report, as combed by the Department of State here in the U.S. Fortunately, I'm here in Miami, Florida, in the U.S. And this report analyzes all the taking on from the election, from the presidential to the state to legislative elections in Nigeria. They have done a thorough investigation, a thorough combination of reports from the journalists, from the human rights activists, even from the opposition political parties. And they have come to conclusion that the election in itself reflects the will of the people, which is the right thing, which is the summary of the report. And that summary, we all know that in Nigeria, that was the wish of the people. The people wanted a leader that is people's focus, that is people's oriented, that has the people in its agenda, that felt what they were feeling. A leader that can be trusted, a leader that can go all along to resolve various problems. A leader that will not be shy away from combating corruption, a leader that will at all times be responsible and responsive to the willings and yearnings of the people. And that was what the people wanted, and that was what we got in the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Whatever the election is, there's no election that is perfect anywhere in the world. There's nowhere where election will be pro bono, 100% free of violence, 100% free of miscreancy, or free of any misgivings. So Nigeria election is not immune from such. So the report is so clear. And when you look at the opposition that are reacting about it, yes, what do you feel about the opposition? But what we have to look at is the reflection of that election and what is happening in Nigeria now. Has there been any change? Has there been any proactiveness within from the government point of view? Yes. We can see that, yes, it started on a very tough note because tough decisions were made. And that tough decision, unfortunately, rubs on every Nigerian. But now we can see the reflections of those effects that are coming gradually to benefit the people. You understand? So whether we like it or not, we are beginning to feel the impact and the pause that we don't, and the pause of what the leader the president had promised during his campaign period. So therefore, whatever any opposition says, the people's will has been is now at play. You can see various opportunities have been put in place to cushion the effect of poverty. The Consumer Protection Agency have been reactivated or reenacted to make sure that people get the things at a better price. And all of these are what Nigerians are looking for. They are looking for a government that that can hear their yearnings. And that report was so clear. Whatever the opposition says, the report that the U.S. state has presented was a clear reflection of what Nigerians wanted to go before going to the polls of 2023 election that produces His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
All right, but what's your comment about their assessment of some ethnic groups being intimidated for supporting the Labour Party?
I don't feel there's an ethnic group that has been intimidated from my own point of view, except that those proponents of such are the ones that are intimidating themselves or intimidating the public, because every ethnic group is well represented. Every ethnic group, there's no discrimination in this government. If you look at the composition of the president's team, you see that there is no ethnic group that is taken for granted. Everybody is well represented. So whenever the opposition will use any means to discredit performance, definitely they will use any means to say the performance here and there. But the thing is this: whatever the situation is, we are in an era where every Nigerian must come to support the government, especially in area where you have people frustrating the progresses and the processes of government, the monetary policy, the policies that the government is being enacted. Let us all come to join us together. There's no place in Nigeria that is not wealth-based. So the government is trying to address all of this and making sure that the resources of the country become a genuine investment precursor for all investors. So we must work together, and let us not talk about ethnic and minority or this or that. No, we are all in government. We have to fight this cause together and make sure that Nigeria becomes that great nation and the giant of Africa that we are.
I hear you, Mr. Doherty. We need to take a break now. When we come back, is Tunde Doherty, who is joining us from Miami, Florida, in the USA. All right, let's start talking about this report. Can we actually say that these views that have been expressed are the views of the United States, or are they of certain groups? I mean, what is your assessment?
From the human rights perspective, from the journalist perspective, from even the people's perception, from the opposition perception, it was all encompassing report. Then when they want to take a decision and make their own clarification of such, they will look at the average comments or average takings of the people within such report before they can pronounce that whether it is what it is. So therefore, it is the reflection all around the world that they gathered that gives them that view that, okay, putting all facts and figures together, it shows that this is fair. This is what Nigeria wanted. And even from the layman perspective, you look at it that there was some unpleasant happenings one way or the other in some places or the other, whether we like it or not. When you take the percentage of that, probably the percentage might not be up to 20% of what we are talking about. But when you look at 20% of 100%. The 80% is still is still A1 in GCSE. So therefore, when you look at you see in every report, you see the negative part of such report. No matter how minimum the percentage is, people still hype on that more than the great beliefs of everybody. We look at that. We look at the report and we look at what happened during the election. We look at the fairness of it. You look at when we're talking about results. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is from Lagos State. But the result from Lagos State does not favor the president. So they didn't really take it on that oh, he didn't favor the president. We know sometimes before when the president comes from a particular region of Nigeria, and he made sure that every part of that region was subsumed because he wants to be president from his state, even though it didn't happen. But the thing is that as Bola Ahmed, when it happened, yes, there's nothing they can do about that. They have to take such result. The result from other states in the Southwest did not favor the president. But at the end of the day, they did not say they did not cry wolf. But the point is that at the end of the day, the president overwhelmingly performed very well in other region of the country. So therefore, when you put the two together, you look at it that there are overwhelming majority within the country that believe that the president is a president that they need, will be a listening president, will be a president that will akin to their demand. Look at what has been happening in all of this. So when you look at those reports there, when the United States will put those reports, they're not going to base their report on one state in Nigeria alone. They're going to base the report on all the 36 states, including the FCT. So the report is going to be a general report. It's not going to be based on the fact that, okay, there's something, this happened in Kano. He didn't win in Kano. He won in Kano. And you look at it that you take Kano to be majority. No. We have 36 states of the Federation, including the FCT, where election took place. Even in the FCT, the president didn't win the election in the FCT. But at the end of the day, you cannot isolate the FCT from Nigeria. So at the end of the day, if you look at it from the layman perspective, if you know majority has the lead. And that is why that report was a reflection of the generality and the generality of Nigeria.
I hear you, Mr. Doherty. I hear you. And if you look at it really, we also saw some surprises springing up. We had some parties like the YPP, the Labour Party, some parties that some could consider small, actually being able to clinch some seats in the National Assembly and even in state assemblies.
In state elections, yes. We have Labour Party has a state. They control a state as a governor. They have senators in the National Assembly. They have House of Assembly members. Even YPP too they have representatives here and there. So that's the reflection. That's what the people wanted, and that was what the US is saying, that after combining overall report from various organizations and organs, this is what they concluded, that the election was a reflection of what Nigerians wanted.
All right. And talking about intimidation during the elections, the report says that the videos they gathered for the analysis were actually posted on social media. So do you think it is time to actually take social media content more seriously in independent observation?
If you do a thorough analysis or forensic analysis of most of videos that are all over the social media, majority of them are fake videos. They are fake news, because I've seen in that part of report where they were showing a report of an election that did not even take place in Nigeria. And they were presenting it as what has happened in Kano or somewhere else. So most of the reports of social media shouldn't be taken serious at all, because 80% of what we see in social media are fake news, are fake videos, just to incite the system. So I don't really believe in the social media report. Majority of those things that comes from the social media are mere fabrications from the junks of those that wanted to use it to discredit progressive and progressive and prosperous processes.
All right, and really, this is what the U.S. report, referred to in its reports, talking about intimidation of voters during the general election in 2023. But let's look at another critical point that was mentioned here, and that's about women's participation. The report mentioned that women's political participation in Nigeria was 6.7% in elected and appointed positions. And of course, it cited a number of reasons, including religious, cultural, and economic barriers. How do we tackle this?
Yes, I believe that this is the government that is really looking at gender balancing in all its formations, and I believe that if you look at the appointment that His Excellency has been making, and even in the states, you see that there are lots of women that have been pushed forward for great positions, and you can see that. Yes, outside of the religion, cultural, and all of that affected women, a lot of women too are coming out. They are coming out to take their various places. If you look at the banking sector in Nigeria now, women are taking over the banking sector, and that's to tell you that women have come of age in terms of balancing the equality within the governance and administrative system of our nation. And I know that the president himself is doing quite a lot to bring women to the forefront of leadership. And I believe this current administration, they are going to be increasing the participation of women at least to 30% as the president above 30% as the president has promised during the campaign period.
All
and
right.
I'm sure women are there and are ready to take their place in the governance of Nigeria.
Okay, let's talk about the role of international observers in elections. Some would argue about why you would have persons from other countries just meddle, some use that word, in local elections. What's your take on that, really?
It's necessary to have the view of and independent observers from other countries to see how things go. Sometimes their view or what they see are reported as it is live. You understand? They can corroborate issues and processes whenever it is necessary. I am a global labor and social change advocate, and I go to many countries to.
Well, Tony Doherty has been speaking to us from Miami, Florida, and he's been reacting to the 2023 country reports on human rights practices by the United States. There have been several reactions to that report, which mainly indicated that national elections conducted in Nigeria in 2023 were actually reflecting the will of voters, despite technical and logistical difficulties and some irregularities. Well, would have to leave the conversation there. Now, well, that's our program today, and we thank you very much for being a part of it. Do watch a repeat broadcast at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'm Abosede Adeniyi Aderemi.